You know, quite honestly, they're not as similar as what I thought they were going to be. They're just the similarities are that they're very good at what they do. They play, a fullback, part of the time, and they're big and physical. And they also, they have big receivers. They're a big team. They're a long team, and they played very well last week. Beat a very good UCLA team, and I'm sure that it gave them some momentum after the San Diego State game and the USC game. You know, I think great running backs have great vision, and he presses the hole. He's a lot like a smaller version of the Penny Kid. Presses the hole and he slides. Keeps a very good base, and he's probably the fastest back we played. I mean, when he breaks, he broke a 75-yarder against USC, I think the 9th play of the game. There was no catching him. And you just you try to contain him. Try to keep that inside and make it bounce. One of the things he does, I think in particular, we looked at all his runs, is he's a north-south runner. And for a guy that's not 210 pounds, the guy last week was a north-south runner. You saw him, when he hit Daz that time. Powerful guy. And this guy's just he's a guy, if you give him a crease, he'll take it home. That's where there's a little bit of similarity. They run a play we call the toss power, and it's a unique play. He takes a slide step, and the quarterback reverses, and you think toss sweep, but it's not. It's a north-south play, and they're physical. I know one of the kids, Walker Little, was a kid that we recruited hard when I was at Baylor. I've known him for 4 or 5 years. He's out of Episcopal in Houston, and he's a freshman. He's starting, and good player. They're a physical line, and they're tough. You can tell they play with that mentality.
Quarterback situation challenging at all?
I don't know. I would think under the concussion protocol, he should be able to play. I would think that no contact, during the week and probably cleared tomorrow or maybe Friday. He took a good lick, though. It was a head-to-head lick. Both of them, I thought 3 came in, and Costello played well. They have a package for 17 also. And so they've sort of played all of them all year, but I think their starter was the guy that knew the checks. A lot of things they do are run checks, and so I'm sure they're more comfortable with him in there.
Evan Fields is starting to see some time now on the second team. What have we seen as far as his development?
Well, he's talented. Extremely talented. He's a guy that he's what you look for: athletic, smart, trustworthy. He just had that. He had that injury. It's just his camp is going on right now, and I tell you what I love about him. Every day, about 6 o'clock, we're in meetings. He knocks on the door. He wants to learn, and he's a guy that we're going to get ready to play sooner than later. He's a good player. He's fast twitch. Last week he had that penalty. He beat the center so fast. It was a heck of a move. And he told me, he said, Coach, it was a close call, but I think it was probably roughing. But I think he gives us energy by his actions. He plays fast. We try, and this week we're going to do the same thing. We try to create matchups. Last week it was a good move for us. We moved him around, and we felt like we created some matchups that was good for us. He's a high energy, and he's a good Christian kid. When he tells you something, you can count on it. You know, it's funny you should ask about the sideline. Todd and I were talking since our Tech game. Our sideline has been maybe one of the best I've been around. You know, your sideline is your energy source, and a lot of times guys that don't play, you know, are distractions. And we've had guys in the game. And the thing I've enjoyed about our kids the last 2 weeks on the sideline, I don't know if you ever notice how we watch, but I sat in a chair and they sat around me. It's just their discipline and their intention of listening to get better. And Tayshawn's a big leader of that.
You talked a lot about how this is a journey for your secondary with all the young guys that you have. How have you seen them progress in the last couple of weeks?
You know, I thought we made obviously some improvement last week. You know, when you hold a team to 1 out of 11 on third down, and the third down that we gave up was ridiculous. I mean, we should have. I told Chad I'm still ready to strangle him. You know, it was. You know, the guy had to throw off his back foot. You know, I have this rule: you don't back up in the end zone. You have to be carried into the end zone by routes. And I can understand. Chad thought the guy, and he was fast. You know, but down there you have to squeeze. It's a quick clock. You know, you got to play fast. And but I think we made some improvement. You know, we're not where we want to be yet. You know, as I told them today, you know, we got guys that are, you know, everybody said, well, you beat and they were a good team. I thought Oregon coming in, and I think they're going to be good the rest. They have some good playmakers, good quarterback, great running back. But, you know, that was a game that the way we played early, I felt like it never should have been that close. I mean, and we have to get our consistency level up to the 80s, 85s, and we can. I mean, just simple things. You know, and I think we can make some vast improvement with that.
Because of the running game, Stanford's passing game really takes a back seat in some cases, at least on the stat sheet. But what do you see from their passing game that could be a challenge?
You know, I go back to this. They have big, long receivers. You know, and these guys body you up. And sometimes, as we all know, this is a game of matchups. And we're not huge in the secondary. So we've got to do some things to try to create positive matchups. You know, they're unique. I've never played Stanford. And Todd has filled me in, and, you know, he's played them, has a history with them. And, I mean, it's just amazing to me, and it's a compliment to them that they're able, you know, with tight ends, 12 personnel. You know, they line up, you know, and I'm used to 5 receivers, 4 receivers, and they're out there with in spread formation in 3rd and 15 with a 6'7", 245-pound tight end, a 6'6", you know, 260-pound tight end, and you know, it's who they are. And but I think that they're efficient, you know, better than efficient. They are guys that you better know where some of those big guys are. You know, I hope it's a game that elevates him into. Last week he had 11 tackles, and we have a little ward, a little dog collar, that's those spiked dog collars, and you know, I told Christian, I said, I know Christian and I have a love-hate relationship. I love him, and I think he hates me. But he played very well. And you know, he's a guy that he's got to maintain his focus, and I think he can. You know, I'm grinding him, to say the least. Between myself and Coach Patterson, he might think he has a new name. You know, you challenge him the right way, and I think this can be a big game for him. I really do. You know, he is a guy that has really good talent, and my goal, I told him, my goal as a coach, I said, you don't want a guy that doesn't challenge you to be the best you can be. And I said, if you're looking for that guy, he's not here. So I think it can be another game. I think he's taken steps. You know, obviously he was extremely disappointed after the San Diego State game. You know, with a 3rd and 21, sort of drifted, and he got better against Tech, had a good game, and I thought last week he really made some nice plays against good backs. Yeah, I do. I mean, and let me say this too. I'm hopeful. You know, I do believe, you know, I'm a production guy. And I looked at his stats. I watched the tape. He was productive last week. I mean, they had to know. I mean, when that game was over, they said, hey, you know, number 2 played a good game. And the back knew, you know, who's blocking 2. You know, I always tell the story when I was at Pittsburgh. Shady McCoy, we're playing somebody, I don't know who it was, but I remember on the sideline, he's over there, he's going, who's blocking number 44? And somebody said, well, on different schemes, he said, nobody's blocking him. And the other night, I say that because the back on one of the 3rd and 2s, I think you might remember, we blitzed, got the fumble. The back stood up, and you could tell he turned to the offensive lineman like, who's blocking him? So, you know, we're just hopeful that we become more consistent.
Before you got here, you talked about talking to the guys on the defensive line on the sideline. That was Todd the last few years, and now he appears to have taken more of a, with you here, more of a CEO approach. You've been around the sport for a long time. Do you think that's hard for a head coach to kind of realize that maybe he needs to step back a little bit and take a different approach?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I tell people this. I always thought I was a really good assistant coach before I was a head coach. And then after I addressed the things that I addressed at SMU, you know, starting with a 3.0 and 1,000 on your acceptance, you're getting in, I told myself, I said, I have greater appreciation for a head coach because I've been one. And I think Todd he's been magnificent. Now, one of the things that I love, we love to talk football together. I mean, he's not out of it. He's aware on both sides of the ball what everybody's doing, but he is also giving us creativity in space. You know, some of the blitzes I was running the other night, he would look at me like, "Ooh," and I said, well, "We got to be bold." We said it. We're going to be bold tonight, and but he's been awesome, and I think that I'm not sure the word CEO, but he's managing. You know, he's managing. You know, we have a meeting, myself, Billy, and him, and I really like it. We talk about what we need to do as a team to win the game. And I see Todd during the game. I see him managing those situations. Listen, that onside kick, you know, he was sitting there and he told me, he said, Phil, he said, what do you think? You know, he's sharing thoughts. And I said, do you think we can get it? He said, it's there. I said, do it. And it was a huge play for us. And so, and I think this, and then this is not any disrespect to anybody that's ever been here at all, but I think he's confident in his staff, and I think you can tell that you know. And I don't go in. I'm not. Billy's not high maintenance. I'm not high maintenance. Listen, we want to win. I don't care if it's my ideal, his ideal, Keith Patterson's, Sean Slocum's. We want to win, and if it that's what I've seen with Todd that I've been very impressed with. Is that he is letting us share our ideals and going into and we're implementing them. And I say this again, we spend time together. He comes in. I want him to know what we're doing, because I know as a head coach that's important that he knows. You know what? I like this. You know, I like that. You know, and why are we doing this? And I think he's doing that with Billy also. And I think that. I wouldn't call it CE. I would just say managing. He's managing his staff. He's trusting his staff, and listen again. He's also involved. He's knowing what's going on, which I think is important.
So, Coach, with you guys pressured a lot more in that
You, you know, a couple of things. In the Tech game, I told you this last week. Anything you say would be sour grapes. We thought we had a really nice package with Cron, and I made a mistake. I didn't have a backup, you know, of a personnel package. And now I did think at halftime we adjusted and we got better. I think it was obvious, but I think that it was a combination of those things, of just what you're saying. You know, how can we, you know, obviously, you know, we were a little bit conservative, some of it by choice, you know, the first two games. And so we felt like we had to be a little bit more creative. And if you remember that one section there in the second quarter, I think they had the ball either midfield or better, 4 straight possessions. And we didn't feel like we could afford to let them get in range of scoring. And, you know, and that's the thing. And the kids knew it. We told them. I told them. I said, you get ready. You know, we're and I also say this. I didn't think we were ridiculous either. We were calculated, and we didn't really do, you know, it wasn't a straight, you know, total, a max.